Thomas, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Dave.
I want you to tell us, as the new CEO of Immuron, you just joined recently, why did you join Immuron? And tell us about your background as well.
Sure, thank you, Dave. First of all, thanks for having me here, Appreciate it. I spent 7 years at Pfizer in headquarters working on various commercial roles, commercial development, business developments, both for worldwide functions and P&Ls as well. And both emerging markets in the US, so different geographies. And then I left Pfizer in 2013 to become CEO and then CEO of a company in Australia called Alchemia, which was an oncology company, and led the company through a transformational time. I joined Immuron, I think, for a few reasons. The first one is I want to take a couple seconds to acknowledge the science that's being done in Australia. I think it's very important that people recognize that even though it is a small market compared to the US, there's outstanding science done in Australia. And so as I was looking for my next company to join, Australia was definitely one of the areas that I wanted to, that I was actively looking at. I think second of all, as you know, we have a platform that derives a couple of products for us. One is a phase 2 compound in fatty liver disease, which is probably one of the largest unmet need we have today, and a diarrhea product called Travelan that is generating cash flow for us. And so I think that platform, which I would call an immunomodulator platform that allows us to downregulate or upregulate the immune system to do what we want to do with our antibodies, is very attractive, very powerful. Second, our platform is an oral therapy, which is for an antibody, it's rare, and so it confers us a lot of advantages. Third, it is a safe technology compared to what I would call other drugs. Fourth, I think I'm really teamed up with a board that is very aggressive and knows how to drive shareholder value, from really paying attention to your trials, to recruiting the right executives, to accessing the US capital markets, which you and I discuss is very important for a company like ours. I know that we're not going to stand still at where we are, and we're going to move forward.
Well, at Pfizer, you're responsible for looking at technologies. Obviously, you've looked at this technology. We talked a little bit about it, but what is it that really excites you about their technology?
It's a unique technology from a immunomodulating perspective. So I think we do something that is very unique that nobody else really does. It's scalable, so we can target a lot of different diseases. We can come up with antibodies extremely quickly, and we have great data in other areas besides fatty liver disease. We can, in diabetes, for example, we've got some good data on HbA1c, which is a marker of diabetes control, and so we are very excited about where this technology can really take us. And then Travelan is again derived from that technology as well, has a lot of potential. The travelers diarrhea market is we estimate between $600 million to $1 billion market. It's a growing revenue stream for us, and we're going to be very aggressive in growing it.
You just a $1 million contract signed in the US. You're doing about $1 million in Australia. What are the expansion plans? How big can you grow the revenues for the Travelan product? Well,
so if we're doing $1 million worth of business in Australia, imagine what we can do in the US with a population that's I think 15 times as large. That's extremely attractive for us. We have plans in China. We want to find a master distributor in China. We have other plans to enter geographic areas one after the other. So this is just the beginning of the Travelan story.
So you have Travelan Australia, Travelan China, Travelan USA,
Travelan Canada with a Paladin, for example. So yeah, it's going well.
What are some of the milestones you hope to reach over the next 6 to 12 months? Now, again, you're in the phase 2 clinical for fatty liver disease. There's 19 hospitals, like 12 are in the US, and as I understand, about 120 patients, correct?
Correct, that's right, yeah.
Okay, so talk to us more about what you want to accomplish both on the NASH technology and on the Travelan over the next 6 to 12 months, and any other corporate milestones that are important.
Milestones as well. Yeah, I think let's start with the corporate milestones from the capital milestones. We're going to get our QB listing very shortly. We want to take full advantage of the U.S. capital market, so we're going to move ahead and get our try to move forward on our U.S. national exchange. So
NASDAQ, okay.
So we can get that done over the next several months. So on the clinical side, we aim to recruit our patients for our fatty liver disease trial by the end of Q1 2016. And we aim to end the trial with having the trial results by the end of 2016. So it's a near-term, very near-term results. From a Travelan perspective, we want to close. We want to sign up more distributors in the U.S. That's going very well, and also we want to sign a deal in China as well. So I think those are some near-term milestones that investors can look forward to.
Thomas, I look at other companies in phase 2 clinicals for fatty liver disease. I see much higher market caps than our current 35 million. How do you weigh that? How do you measure that?
Yeah, I think there are two main factors that I can see. One is that Australian companies don't access U.S. capital markets fast enough and really to the degree that they could. And I think that just puts Australian companies at a disadvantage.
Do you think just because you're in Australia, in a market that's 1/10 of the U.S., they trade at lower market caps, just not the buyers there, the institutions that?
I think it's the fact that you just don't have the coverage and you just don't have the reach that you have when you're in the U.S. Your technology might be just as good, but if you don't have the eyes of the funds and the sophisticated investors in your largest market who really can understand your technology and see your potential and get that liquidity, it's very hard for those companies.
As you can see the comps on the screen here, and you see the median market cap is 107 million. So there's a big discrepancy.
I know, and that's one of the reasons why I came to Immuron, because I know that company is undervalued. If you look at our growing revenue stream that we have, if you look at the fact that we have a phase 2 trial in a fatty liver disease, and you see the valuations of those companies that have those types of trials, and you look at our platform, our technology, which is a platform that can be that we can leverage very quickly into other diseases. It's clear that we are undervalued, and for the savvy investors, there's an arbitrage opportunity, and I want to go out and tell them that there is.
Well, very well said, Thomas. Thank you so much for being with us today.
You're welcome, Dave. Thank you.
Okay, we're now opening up the line for our Q&A session with Immuron. With us today, we have Thomas Lacard, CEO. Welcome, Thomas.
Hi, Paul. How are you? Doing great, thanks.
Doing well. We're happy to have you here. First question we have up is, can you talk a little bit about the recent outstanding results on C. difficile?
Yeah, sure, of course. I think that a couple of points to cover here. First and foremost, it is another validation of our platform. We've had a few validations so far. Obviously, our NASH program, which is now in phase 2, with great phase 1 data, including efficacy data. Travelan, we are Traveler's diarrhea product, 90% efficacy rate in preventing traveler's diarrhea. Several peer-reviewed published papers on our mechanism of action in NASH and gut dysbiosis and traveler's diarrhea, colitis, and diabetes. We also have, obviously, our NASH, our NIH endorsement, which is funding our ASH trial, 100% funding our ASH trial. And then now we have our C. difficile preclinical test. So I think it's another, just to put it into context, just another validation of the outstanding strength of our platform. The results, the results were really terrific. We have got 3 mouse models, prevention model, treatment model, and recurrence model. All results were statistically significant across the board in all 3 models. And so potentially, this leads to really great differentiation for our therapy. Obviously, it's an oral therapy. It's not IV like Merck's products. We potentially the only potential therapy that has that can target all 3 phases of C. difficile. So it could be used, prevention of C. difficile when you feel that patients might be at risk of getting C. difficile, as a treatment, and then as well as in the recurrences of the disease. So I think, to wrap it all up, it's a great opportunity for all of our investors because it is a $1 billion market. It's a key targeted area by the CDC. So we really expect, as we move this product forward in a development cycle through the clinical stage, for that to contribute significantly to the valuation of the company.
Very good, thank you. Our next question: what valuation upside do you think we can expect in case of a positive phase 2 in your NASH program?
In NASH, yeah, it's a great question. Look, I think if you look at the comparables in the space, Intercept is the obvious benchmark. Positive phase 2 that it had led to an increase in valuation of over $5 billion. There was obviously some concerns about safety, which really has decreased that upside to about $1.5 billion, but it's still $1.5 billion of upside from what they were before their phase 2, and that was a fairly small phase 2 efficacy study. The reason behind that is because NASH is such a large market. There are no approved therapy. It's a huge unmet need, and it's increasing unmet need globally because it is really created. NASH is really created by our lifestyle, and that's really not going away. So it's a huge unmet need. And one analyst told me very recently that said there are really two kind of areas of focus now, the hottest areas of focus for big pharma, being cancer immunotherapy, obviously, and the other one being NASH. So if we have a positive phase 2 result, which we expect sometime in the first half of 2017, we'll have anywhere between a 15x to 25x upside on our valuation. That's where we really expect to be, because we would have one of the only positive phase 2 studies in NASH.
Very, very good. Thank you, Thomas. Our next question: Are there any immunogenicity concerns from using cow colostrum as part of your formulation?
No, that's a really good question. It's a very basic science question, but it's very, very important. The FDA asked us to make sure that we have no immunogenicity concerns, and we have none. We had to run studies to make sure that we did not develop antibodies to our own antibodies, and we do not. So there are no immunogenicity concerns that we are worried about and that anybody should be concerned about.
Well, that's very good news. Our next question, can you talk a little bit about the type of market penetration that you've seen so far for Travelan in the U.S.?
Yeah, that's a great question. And look, we've announced over the last few months that we've closed additional contracts in the U.S. We have minimum commitments now in the U.S. Close to $1 million worth of business on an annual basis. We started obviously from zero. We are currently negotiating with key national retailers to get the product on the shelf on the retail level. We are obviously negotiating other agreements. So our penetration in the U.S. is actually going really well. We're very, very pleased with the progress of the business. We have several shows that will be going between now and June that will drive a lot of business for us. So we're very, very pleased with the trajectory of Travelan in the U.S.
Very good, thank you. And our next question, can you talk a little bit about the competitive landscape in NASH as well as C. difficile?
Yeah, great. I think starting with NASH, there is I think we're very, very well. I know we're very well positioned against our competitors in NASH. All of our NASH competitors have safety concerns and safety issues. Intercept, as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, have pruritus issues, which is basically a clinical itching of the skin, which is pretty severe. And they have obviously LDL issues to the point that the FDA has asked us to run a phase 2 in combination with the statins. So we have none of those safety issues. So from that perspective, it really gives us a leg up in the market. The second piece of it is that most these NASH drugs will not be able to use in combination with one another. So if if they get to the market, if several drugs get to the market, Intercept's drug, Gilead's drug, and Genfit's drug will not be able to be used in combination. Those drugs are just too, their profile really does not allow them to really do that. That's not the case with our drug. We can be used in combination with any of those therapies. So it really puts us in a very, very unique competitive space where none of these other drugs will be able to be used in combination, where our drug will be able to be used in combination with these drugs. We will not interact with any of these drugs because we don't get into the bloodstream. Therefore, again, it puts us in a very unique competitive space. And because of these kind of safety efficacy profile of our competitors, we think they'll be very limited to a very severe portion of the patients, where because of our safety profile, we will not be limited to severe NASH patients. And so we not only are we looking at NASH obviously, but we're also looking at NAFLD, which is the patient population before NASH, which is even larger than NASH. So we are, I think, in a very, very unique position. And if our phase 2 results come out the way we think they're going to come out, then our valuation upside will be justified, not only because we are in the NASH space, but also because of our very unique competitive profile. And then you're welcome. Do I have a couple minutes to address cilta-cel as well? Okay.
Absolutely.
From a cilta-cel perspective, our competitive profile is also very unique in that we are an oral therapy, whereas all of the other ones, most of the ones that are currently further into the pipeline are not. Merck's drug is IV, for example. As I mentioned earlier on as well, we are capable of targeting every single phase of the disease. And to our knowledge, we are the only therapy in development, or the only therapy approved, that could potentially have that type of claims. Because we could be, as I said earlier on, used in patients who are at risk for developing cilta-cel. We could be administered in combination with vancomycin to prevent the recurrence of cilta-cel. And then we could also obviously be used when you have an actual recurrence of cilta-cel. So we're very, we feel very, very good about our positioning.
Very good. No, it sounds like a great position to be in, Thomas. And I guess we have just about a minute and a half or so left. In summary, you covered a lot of great information in the presentations and here on the Q&A. But in summary, what's the key takeaway investors should have about the Immuron story?
Yeah, look, I think we are in a very, very unique space to drive a lot of valuations for our investors. We have a proven platform. We've now have several programs that have gone through the platform with flying colors. We are competing. We have very attractive drugs with very attractive competitive profiles in billion-dollar indications like NASH and cilta-cel. We've been able to attract collaborations with leading institutions like the NIH, and we have a lot of good news coming up. We think over the next 18 months or so, including the continued penetration of Travelan in the U.S. We're working on new markets as well. We obviously progressing our cilta-cel and our NASH trial. So we have a lot of very good news and a lot of positive inflection points coming up over the next 18 months, which is very good news for our investors.
Sounds like a lot of great things coming. And for our audience, we were just talking with Thomas Licard, who is the CEO of Immuron. Again, the ticker symbol on the ASX is IMC. And you can learn more about Immuron right at redchip.com. And you can also sign up for news alerts on the company to stay abreast of the latest developments as they happen. So just visit redchip.com to do that.